I turned around, looked in the corner. Whatever was there, it was gone. Mm-hmm. It felt like it was something demonic.
It's as if whatever was in there was stopping you from saying it.
Yeah, it was weird as hell. Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Spooky Nights Podcast. I'm your host, Rye Malik.
I'm your co-host, Lysette Gonzalez.
And this is a podcast where we talk about everything spooky and horror related. And in one of our previous episodes, we actually touched upon the topic of sleep paralysis.
If you don't know what sleep paralysis is, it's when you wake up in the middle of the night and you find yourself in a frozen state where you can't move, you can't talk, but you're awake and aware of what's going on. Sometimes in this state, you find yourself hallucinating, hearing things that aren't really there, but you're still frozen in bed.
It's a pretty terrifying thing to happen, but before we get into our personal experiences with sleep paralysis, and we will also be talking about some bad dreams that we've had, let's not forget that.
Yes.
I just want to mention really quick, we are now officially on Spotify, if you didn't know. So if that's a platform you would rather listen to this podcast on, make sure you go down in the description below, click on the link, and it'll take you straight to the episode on Spotify. But with that being said, sleep paralysis. There's a couple different theories as to why sleep paralysis happens. One of them has to do with the supernatural. The fact that you can't move immediately upon waking up and that you start seeing these crazy things in the corners of your room, in the shadows. I think it's pretty easy to see why people would think this is paranormal in nature and supernatural in nature. But another theory that's commonly thrown around is that this is just something that happens to people when they wake up. Maybe these are times that when we wake up, the dream just doesn't end and that's why we hallucinate or something. These experiences are really freaking scary.
Yes.
So going straight into it, I'm going to talk a little bit about some sleep paralysis stories that I've had that legitimately tripped me out. And this was even before I knew what sleep paralysis was, so you can imagine how I felt about it. We were just waiting for that to happen. Okay. Well, we were worried about the shelves falling in that one episode, and now this fell. The board doesn't want to be up. Also, I'm drinking a Capri Sun this episode while Lysette still has her Dutch Bros.
As always, gotta get that caffeine in there.
So this occurred, I think, back when I was like 15 or 16 years old. I had never had sleep paralysis before this point. I didn't know exactly that this was sleep paralysis. All I knew was that it was freaking weird and it terrified me. So what happened was that I went to sleep like usual. In the middle of the night, I just randomly woke up. And I remember feeling really weird and scared for no apparent reason. I tried moving my body around and I just could barely move it. Like, it wasn't a full paralysis. I could still kind of like lift my hands and kind of like move around, but I couldn't move freely how I usually do.
Did you feel like you were being like held down, or you just couldn't move that well?
That time I felt like I couldn't move that well.
Okay.
I couldn't move, so I started to look around my room. And in the corner of my eye, I saw like this black mist falling from the ceiling. And as this mist was falling, I was like, well, that's not normal. It was just one of the weirdest things because it didn't feel real, but I knew I was awake. So this black mist is dripping from the ceiling and it's forming into this person. And it was specifically like a person wearing a top hat and was in complete darkness. Kind of how when we explained what we saw at the cemetery in our first episode of the podcast. And once that started happening, I actually started freaking out and I was like, what the hell is happening? Why can't I move? Why is there a figure in the corner of my room? What is going on? The weirdest thing was, as soon as I started thinking that, it felt like my bed started shaking. I know a lot of times when people talk about sleep paralysis stories, that's actually a common occurrence. And even the occurrence of a man wearing a top hat or just shadow people in general.
Yeah.
I was losing my mind at this point. I was like, oh my God, please. I just started praying. I don't know what exactly I was praying to, whether that be God, the universe, or some other thing. I was just praying in general. And I remember being like, please let there not be anything in my room. Let me just do anything. Please get me out of this situation. I'm scared to death right now. And I remember when I started saying this prayer, I was actually able to turn over very slowly. And I kind of curled up in a ball. The more I said the prayer, the more the bed started shaking. The intensity in the room felt really, really negative. Here's the craziest part. As soon as I got to like the amen, I couldn't say it. All that was coming out was... I couldn't say the full word. But finally, I was able to whisper it out just in amen. And as soon as that happened, I was able to move. It was super, super weird that the instant I said amen, I was able to move. I turned around, looked in the corner. Whatever was there, mist guy with the top hat, he was gone. Mm-hmm. I remember at that point, it felt like it was something demonic. Because what are the chances that as soon as I say amen, I can move, the thing's gone out of my room? And now, me knowing what I know about sleep paralysis, me knowing what I know about different theories behind it, I would love to think that it wasn't something supernatural or paranormal, but sometimes I can't help but think maybe it was, just because it was one of the most unsettling moments I've ever experienced with that kind of stuff.
What irks me about your story is the part where it was hard for you to say amen, which makes me even more believe that it was demonic. It's as if whatever was in there was stopping you from saying it, you know?
Yeah, it was weird as hell.
They're keeping you from moving, keeping you from talking. That's scary.
So that was the first time I ever had sleep paralysis. I actually ended up experiencing it a lot more after that. But one of the weirdest occurrences that ever happened, you know, usually when you have sleep paralysis, it's after you go to sleep for a while. You've been sleeping for a couple hours at that point. One of the craziest times that ever happened was I was on the verge of falling asleep. My eyes were starting to close, and out of nowhere my body stiffened up, and I was like, you know, like in Star Wars when they like force choke someone and they stiffen up.
You got force choked, bro.
That's exactly what happened. I just stiffened up and I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Why did I just go into sleep paralysis? Mm-hmm. I had never opened my eyes again for sleep paralysis. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see what's going on. So when it happened that time, it was very unsettling, but I was like, okay, I know how this is gonna go. Let me close my eyes so I don't see anything until I'm able to move again. Let's just wait this out. Tell me why in my right ear I start hearing voices. And I'm not exaggerating, guys. I start hearing this. And I was like, what the fuck?
Just like gibberish whispering?
Yeah, like I couldn't understand what it was saying. Fucking insane. And it was probably the scariest sleep paralysis experience I've ever had, because that's the only time I ever heard something while having sleep paralysis. Don't get me wrong, when people have sleep paralysis, people don't always see things. Sometimes it's just you're paralyzed. Yeah, those two times specifically are always gonna stay with me. Take a sip of my Capri Sun.
I've had 2 sleep paralysis instances. I've had a lot of weird dream experiences. The first time I had sleep paralysis was after I talked about sleep paralysis with someone, which was weird because before that first instance, I've never had a sleep paralysis before. So it started in the dream and I woke up. So in the dream, I was in a cornfield and there's what?
In a cornfield?
Yeah, a cornfield. It was a scary dream.
That's already scary.
I was in a cornfield. I was just going through trying to find my way out, and then I come into like this empty spot in the cornfield and there's just a pile of bodies. And in the pile of bodies, there's just like a hand hanging out. And yeah, of course it was scary. But then I closed my eyes in the dream and then I opened them back up and I'm awake in my bed and I can't move. But it's just weird because you know that pile of clothes you have in the corner of your room?
Everyone has it.
Everyone has
There's
it.
There's one right there.
My pile of clothes turned into that pile of bodies that I was seeing in the cornfield. The hand on top of it was there too. It was vividly that pile of bodies. But I knew it was my clothes, but all I could see was the bodies. I instantly woke up from it. I closed my eyes, wake up, and I woke up from it. So yeah, it was scary, but it wasn't as bad as this next experience.
Wait, hold on. So the pile of clothes turned into the bodies you were seeing in your dream?
Yes, in my dream, it was already like, you know, that shape in that picture. Yeah. And that picture just came into reality.
How long did that last for?
I'd say like maybe 5 seconds. But yeah, that was my first sleep paralysis experience, which I don't find as bad just because I was able to wake up from it so fast. But this next one was pretty creepy. Same kind of thing where it started in a dream and then it seeped into reality. In this dream, I was doing a paranormal investigation because yes, that's what I dream about, hunting ghosts. So the dream just goes on as normal. I'm having a dream, whatever. And then around the end of the dream, my paranormal investigation partner, I'm talking to him about the ghost I was hunting, which in the dream was this upside down man. And as I was explaining it to my partner, he pauses and he says, "Don't move." I'm like, "Why?" He says, "He's right behind you. I see him." I freeze up in the dream. My partner says, "Close your eyes. Don't breathe. Don't move. He's right behind you." And then as I close my eyes in my dream, I kind of wake up in reality. So like mentally, I know I'm in bed now, but my eyes are still closed. But then I still hear my partner talking to me. I'm there frozen, terrified, but then I feel finger like on my back, kind of just like on my back, just there resting. My voice is getting shaky because this was so real, and I feel the finger like pressing harder and harder. In bed, I feel like a presence like just getting closer and closer to my back. I don't know how long that went on for. I just remember being so scared, but I woke up and opened my eyes. I didn't want to look behind me for a while.
I think it's crazy how in your specific cases with sleep paralysis, the dreams legitimately carried over into your actual real life. Because with mine, I don't remember my dreams for the most part, unless they're nightmares, which we're going to get into in just a little bit. Mine don't work that way. I just see some random shit. With yours, it seems like it's influenced by the dream, or your dream is influenced by what you're gonna see.
I feel like that has a lot to do with me being able to lucid dream. I used to do it a lot as a kid. I haven't in a while, but I've always had a good mental control over my dreams. And I feel like that really messes with a sense of reality and dreaming if you're not careful with that, you know?
Yeah, lucid dreaming is pretty cool. That might definitely have something to do with the whole reason as to why it happens like that specifically for you. But let me ask you this. Do you personally think that sleep paralysis is something supernatural, or do you think that it's something more scientific? There's actually a crazy sleep paralysis story that I've heard where a guy was having sleep paralysis. I guess he would see like a little red demon that would sit on his chest. Eventually he got used to it. He got used to it, and he was sleeping over at one of his friend's house, and he was having sleep paralysis, and he's like, "Oh, whatever." And his friend turned around in his sleep and he started screaming, and that took him out of his sleep paralysis. And he was like, what like, what, why are you screaming? And his friend told him, "What the hell was that red thing sitting on your chest?" If that's the case, why does that happen if it's something scientific? It's kind of crazy to me that if they're telling the truth, that this other person was able to see what they were seeing in their sleep paralysis. What I personally like to think is that sleep paralysis is something scientific, something that can be explained. And just like how sometimes people's minds might like meld, for instance, I know with girls, when it's your time of,
our periods sync.
Time of the month, they sync,
Yes.
So can minds sync like that? If I'm going to say something and you say it, or I say something, and we're like, "Oh shit, I was thinking the same thing." Is that a form of mind syncing?
Yes, I've seen it. You've heard the stories with twins.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
so close, their minds sync.
I like to think that maybe in these instances, because, if it's with a sibling, if it's with a best friend, maybe that's why people see shit. Personally, I like to believe that instead of that demons are actually coming and visiting us while we're sleeping, or supernatural beings. But, there are instances where I'm like, well, it would make sense.
Yeah, I think it's definitely both, because people do have certain like medical sleeping conditions. The mind is very powerful. Sleep demons. Demons can definitely have the power to infiltrate your mind, your subconscious, and project your thoughts into reality to make you scared. Some demons feed on that fear.
Man, that's just so scary to think about.
And it's always scarier when someone sees the same thing you're seeing.
Yeah, fuck that. With our cemetery story, the fact that we both saw that is why that particular moment scares me so much. So those are some explanations as to what sleep paralysis is and a couple of experiences we've had with it. But something I kind of want to transition over into that has to do with sleep is nightmares. Because believe it or not, I've had some terrible, crazy, messed up nightmares. as I'm sure you have had as well.
Yes.
I want to touch on those because if we're talking about sleep, there's no way we can miss out on talking about these crazy ass things.
Oof.
Nightmares are something that most people have had.
Yes, definitely.
So I think most people can relate to how scary and horrifying and just horrible they can be sometimes.
Especially with the kind of movies out today, too.
I don't exactly remember what was happening in my life at this point. All I remember is that I was in a really, really bad place. Also, sorry if you hear like all this gardening stuff going on outside. Somebody's using a blow thingy.
It's a reef blower.
But in my dream, I was in this really dark room, sitting alone in a couch, watching TV. In the dream, I couldn't look away from the TV. I just kept looking at it. And from the corner of the room where the door's at, I hear it creak open. I'm still looking at this TV, even though I hear this door open. And I hear somebody go, "Hey." And when they said that, I was able to turn around and I looked at the door and it was creaked open like this. Imagine the worst witch face you could possibly imagine. A really fucked up, old, for lack of a better term, hag looking woman.
I'm kind of picturing the Wicked Witch of the East, or is it West?
Worse than that. Like, it was the most fucked up, scary looking face I had ever seen in a dream or in reality. This was terrifying. The Exorcist face scares me a lot. This scared me way more than that face.
Was the face just like peering in?
The door was opened and this woman was looking directly at me and she was smiling. She was going... Felt my heart racing. I was looking at this woman and I was like, please do not come in this room. I'm gonna lose my shit. And we stayed looking at each other for like about 5 minutes. Her face just kept looking at me. And I was so scared. And finally I woke up. It was still nighttime and I looked at the clock, 3 a.m. And exactly, and I was like, what? I saw a witch in my dream and it's the witching hour right now. Absolutely insane. And
I just thought of the Patrick meme. Oh boy, 3 a.m.
Now another one deals with my sister. I was having a dream that my sister was having an exorcism because I believe in real life she was possessed. This was actually when I was a lot younger. Wasn't on good terms with my sister. I think we actually hated each other, but I dreamt of her having an exorcism with a priest and everything. She started floating in her bed. There was candles all around it. There was a priest there trying to like, exorcise her.
Yeah.
She was talking in Latin really fast as she was floating. She was like... That legitimately scared the shit out of me. It's weird. With me, I don't remember my dreams a lot. I remember all the nightmares. And I wish I could remember some good dreams, but I don't most of the time.
When it comes to my nightmares, I've had a handful of nightmares. I don't have any profound nightmares that I remember off the bat, but I do have a couple scary dream experiences from when I used to lucid dream. And this is actually why I can't really lucid dream anymore. When I used to lucid dream, of course, in lucid dreaming, you can control your dreams, do what you want in your dreams, kind of transform the world, mold it how you want.
Yeah.
With me, my lucid dreaming came at a cost. My subconscious created these two authority figures from my dreams. It was just a man and a woman. The man was all blue, the woman was all pink, and these two people would give me tasks that I would have to do. I could do whatever I want in my dreams as long as I do what they wanted me to do in the dream. These were just like, oh, you have to like talk to this person, or you have to make this in your dream. Just like, little tasks like that. They weren't anything like extreme. And then one day I'm just like, fuck it, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm just gonna do my own thing. Like, I'm not gonna listen to you guys. You guys are my dream. This is my dream. So I stopped doing the little tasks they were giving me, and I noticed they would start like showing up more in my dreams. And then I started noticing this all black figure showing up in my dreams.
Like a shadow person?
In a sense, maybe it was.
Because I'm noticing like a trend here with our experiences in shadow people.
Shadow people. I don't remember if he was wearing a specific type of clothing, but I know whatever he wore, it would be black. And whenever he would show up, I'd have this sense of anxiety, like...
Was it like dread?
Yeah, I knew he was coming for me, or I knew something bad was going to happen. In my lucid dreams, I can tell when it would be turning into a nightmare. At that moment, I would just wake myself up. But whenever he was around, it would be harder to wake myself up. As if he was bringing these bad dreams into like my lucid world.
Ugh.
It started getting worse and worse to where like I wouldn't be able to wake myself up. I would see him more and more. And then after a while, I just stopped lucid dreaming.
When was the last time you lucid dreamed? It's been years?
It's been years. It's been years. There's instances where I can tell I'm dreaming, but I can't do anything about it. The dream just goes on as is.
That's pretty crazy. I've had some experiences with lucid dreaming. I've never been very good at it. Although, I will say, we previously stated in a podcast that I felt like I had a sixth sense at some point. I only started feeling that after I lucid dreamed one time. Like I said, I'm very skeptical on this stuff. Lucid dreaming is very, very weird. Real quick, I just want to mention a crazy thing that happened that I heard about. Now, I cannot confirm this story, but I did hear it off of, I think, a YouTuber, and I for the life of me, cannot remember what this YouTuber was called. The story goes that this guy was having a nightmare, and in his nightmare, he was being chased, and it was a guy chasing him with a knife. The guy caught up with him. He pinned him down. He took the knife out and he started stabbing him in the dream. Guy woke up and felt a bunch of pain in his in his stomach.
Yeah.
He woke up to actually being stabbed in the real world. They were trying to stab him in his sleep. He woke up and they left him for dead, essentially. Guy survived. As far as any facts that go after that, I don't know. I don't remember the story very well. I just remember thinking it was crazy that this guy woke up as, dreaming that, waking up to that.
Yeah. It just reminded me of, you ever have those experiences where your dream lines up with what just happened when you wake up?
Yeah.
It's just like that. There's so many ideas I have about that. When you sleep, some people can say you can astral project. It's like, is it your outer being seeing what's going on?
It's like your spirit leaving your body and stuff?
I don't know. There's just been so many times where like I'll wake up right when like the climax of the dream is happening, or right when something happens in the dream, and then I just wake up.
Yeah, I hate when I wake up and I won't even be dreaming. Sometimes I'll just wake up and be like, I'll be like, God damn, what the fuck just happened to me?
It scared me.
But people say that that's your spirit falling back into your soul after astral projecting.
Oh.
And that's why you're like, ugh.
Or
you're
like
jolted up.
when you dream of yourself falling down, like falling off a building, and then you wake up.
Sleep paralysis is crazy. Dreaming is crazy. But I think the ultimate thing behind all this is how crazy it is that the mind works in these kinds of ways. The mind is crazy.
It is.
It's crazy how these things can affect us. It's crazy how it has a toll on our mental being,
Dreams are definitely the mind's way of interpreting reality.
Well, I think that's a pretty good stopping point. I do have more nightmares and sleep paralysis stories that I can talk about. If you guys want to hear them, if you want to hear them, we can always make a part 2 to this video because I have a lot.
Yeah, if you guys like the whole lucid dreaming concepts, I have a lot to offer about that too if you guys want to hear more.
But anyways, guys, that brings an end to our 3rd episode of the Spooky Nights Podcast. You guys, if you have listened this far, seriously, thank you so much from the bottom of mine and Lysette's hearts. It truly means a lot to us.
Yeah, and if you guys have any of your own experiences and stories you want to share with us, and you're watching on YouTube, leave it in the comments. We'd love to hear it and read about it.
And if you really like the podcast, hey, why not share it around with your friends or subscribe? But with that being said, we hope you guys have a wonderful night. Stay safe out there, and let's get spooky.
Peace.